Look, this storm could have been a lot worse, and thank God it was not. But I can tell you that as a state senator who went around to the towns in this area, first I want to thank the volunteers, the firemen, the first responders, law enforcement personnel, rank and file members of the community who worked so very hard to make sure that both the water and the power were turned on for so many families that were left without power and water for so long. But the reality is that this could have been a lot worse, this storm. And the scary thing is that going to the various communities, whether it was with Kenny Schmidt and Carmel, or Nick Bianco down in Yorktown and Jim over here in Putnam Valley, whether it was with Mary Beth Murphy and Somers, there was a sense that we were not prepared had this storm been any worse. And it would be horrific to think the impact of what a man-made, a terrorist attack could have on our grid. This is not to place blame, okay? We have got to figure this out, because had this storm been any worse, or had there been a well-defined terrorist attack on our grid, we would have seen tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of families go without water and without power, not for a few days, but for weeks, if not months. And that reality stands right now. And to simply suggest that we did all we could and the preparation was adequate, in my opinion, is a dereliction of duty. We'll reinforce the fact that we are going to hold hearings. I chair the Homeland Security Committee for the Senate, and we held a hearing in the city nearly 10 years after 9/11. During that hearing, we found out a couple of things. Number one, the radio operability issues and the radio interoperability issues that existed. If you remember, men and women running into buildings that were falling down were incapable, unable, not incapable, unable to communicate with each other because their radios weren't working. And their radios had a track record of not working, so they used their personal cell phones. And what happened the day of the earthquake? This little tiny earthquake that happened here, what happened? You tried to use your cell phone, it didn't work. And then the Port Authority and the men and women on the front lines have told us at that hearing that they might as well have a brick on their side because the radios don't work. We also found out that the George Washington Bridge, the Holland Tunnel, the Port Authority bus terminal, unmanned. I went with Eyewitness News, we went under the Port Authority bus terminal, we drove under that Port Authority bus terminal. When we should have went right, we went left. When we should have went forward, we went back. We should have been pulled over many, many times. We could have driven under that Port Authority bus terminal with 30 to 40 buses full with anything from oranges to you know what. And they didn't do anything. And we drove by guard shacks that were constructed in the aftermath of 9/11 and that were completely empty. So we can look at this as, oh, phew, we got through a storm, or we can realize that outside of Jerusalem, we were terrorist target number one. And I'm telling you right now that if this storm were a category or a little bit stronger, we would have seen near Katrina-like conditions. Because I saw it. I was at the firehouse in Carmel, I was in Somers, I was all throughout this district, and I saw families that literally you had very tense moments where they ran out of dry ice and had families incapable of taking care of their kids. And basic dignity was stolen from them. So we got where most families within a week got their power back and their water back. But if this storm were any worse, we would have seen hundreds of thousands of families without power and without water for weeks, if not months. We wouldn't be starting school next week. So we have to take a very stern eye to this and not say it's your fault or your fault, but how could we have been better prepared at all levels of government? And I'll say that at all levels, whether it be the State Department of Homeland Security, the Offices of Emergency Management at the county level, at the state level. How can we all work together? And you're absolutely right. The rank and file members with the utilities were no doubt working night and day and doing the best they can. But we didn't. I was told we didn't have generators from here to Pennsylvania, and we sure as hell ran out of dry ice very quickly. And really the dry ice that was out there was basically a public relations campaign on behalf of not only the utilities, but those handed out, let's just be honest. But we've got to make sure that the fact that New York City and New York State, that we're terrorist target number one, that if this grid were to get hit, that the hundreds of thousands of families that live within that corridor outside of New York City, that we'd be protected and we would be prepared. And as we stand here right now, we are not.
Well, we lost about 8,000 homes, lost power in Somers out of the 9,000 homes that we have. And, you know, our highway crews got out there right away cleaning things up. We had some problems initially because we couldn't get a NYSEG truck to work in tandem with our highway superintendent, but we were able to solve that relatively quickly, and our highway crews got the roads cleared out really quite quickly. By close of business Monday, all of the roads that we could clean were cleared. There were still a few roads that NYSEG had to get their poles out of the road, and those took much longer. One as late as Thursday, and the other one on Wednesday. So that caused some significant problems with emergency personnel, et cetera, et cetera. We are down right now to about 200 people without power. NYSEG is out there. They tell me they are at every single location that they are aware of where power is out. I have put out on our website and through other media opportunities that I have, that if your power is out and everybody around you's power is on, you really need to contact NYSEG. If you can't contact NYSEG, contact me on my cell phone, 914-804-6544, and I will see that NYSEG knows of your location, because there are still, there may be still isolated instances where NYSEG is not aware that the power is out in an individual home.
I'm Ken Schmidt, the Town of Carmel Supervisor, and I'd like to thank Senator Ball for having this press conference here today regarding the response of our first responders, our community, and also the New York State Electric and Gas Corporation. We experienced about 10,000 residents that were affected at the height of the storm, and the last group that was out due to the aftermath of the storm was restored, I believe, today. So it was a full week where residents were impacted by it. We do need to talk about or critique the New York State Gas and Electric response and preparedness for this storm, this event. And there are issues and concerns that I have and other elected officials have that we really need to address. So I think what we're going to be doing is critiquing their activities and their response during the event. And there's a few things that certainly I have concerns about. One being the distribution of dry ice and water. It was horrible. This NYSEG company is not the NYSEG that we've all grown to know and enjoy over the years. They're totally different. Management is different, and they really need to look at how they respond to such great events such as this. There was devastation widespread throughout Westchester, Putnam, and other counties, and I don't think they were prepared for it. So as we move forward, things need to be looked at. Communication to their customers was poor, and they really need to look at how they're going to change things moving forward for the next event. And there will be another event, but hopefully they'll be prepared for that, going into the future. But we're certainly going to have to, look at things, holistically to see if, any changes should be made, and hopefully there will be changes made. Thank you.
Great. Okay, Wayne Uvard, Town of Amenia Supervisor, and I have Bill Flood with me, Chairman of the Planning Board. We were really pretty fortunate up in Amenia. We didn't get the winds that they predicted, but still by Wednesday we had over 500 homes without power. This was totally unacceptable. There was really a lack of communication with NYSEG. They had crews from out near Rochester working on our lines, and thank goodness our highway crew was there helping them. If it wasn't for our highway crew working with the power companies, they'd probably still be there. But finally, by Thursday afternoon, we had a Tally Ho Park, which I was screaming at NYSEG. This was about 300 mobile homes with a lot of senior citizens, many of them on breathing machines, needing oxygen. And unfortunately, they were the last ones. But finally, by Thursday afternoon, everybody in Amenia was hooked up. But it was just, they were giving me a Band-Aid, calling me Wednesday and Thursday for dry ice, where we had to go down to Brewster and pick it up. This was 48 to 36 hours after the freezers were already thawed out, so it was kind of a Band-Aid. We were just, pretty disappointed. But they tell us that they went through and assessed. Well, the old timers that work for this, NYSEG is a different company now. The old NYSEG, they would have gone through and safetied the line and repaired them as they went. We probably would have had power by Monday, Tuesday at the latest. This new system of assessing is just it was a time gimmick to try and they weren't prepared. They didn't have the crews here. They didn't have the dry ice available. So if I was a school teacher, I would have certainly given them an F for failure. So, Bill, anything to add on that?
What could have been done to kind of speed up the process, do you guys think?
Well, first of all, there were no NYSEG trucks available on Sunday. They didn't bring anybody here in preparation for this storm. When the power went out, they decided to start bringing people in. Obviously, they didn't want to pay the overtime on Sunday, so they moved no people here. Thanks to Senator Ball's office and the work that Jim Coleman and they did behind the scenes for our Charlie Ho mobile home park, we finally got them on a day and a half ahead of time, with just screaming on the phone with conference calls and with Supervisor Uvard, and we finally got other people on also at the same time. But that was a major issue, and if it wasn't for the town highway, those people had no idea where they were going, had absolutely no clue.